Spectrum of Us podcast.
Chaos and comedy, where we explore life on the spectrum.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jennifer.
In each episode, we dive deep into life surrounding neurodivergence, exploring the complex and often comical dynamics between society, family, education, and more.
Through building understanding, we hope to build a community. So like and subscribe for more chaos and comedy as we explore life behind the scenes of neurodiversity.
All right. I think I want to start this episode with an apology. An apology that goes back for almost 30 years. That's my 30 years in law enforcement. The number of times I had responded to a school because a student was being disruptive or was in a fight or stole something, but they couldn't get a hold of the parent. And when they can't get a hold of the parent and the school does not feel that it was safe for the school environment for that child to stay in the school environment, they always call 911. In the state of Washington, Child Protective Services cannot take children into custody. The police take children into custody and then turn them over to Child Protective Services. So they need both of us there. So they will call 911 and we can't get a hold of parents. And, something you said in our last episode, when you said, how people always say, do better.
Yeah.
Well, I never thought about do better, and I never vocalized this to anybody. But I always thought about that when, why can't you come? We're hearing a parent. I actually had a mom tell me once, her son had attacked a teacher with a pencil. And we were like, yeah, you got to come get him. And he had behavior disorders, and he was in the special ed section of the school, in a special ed classroom, and he had escalated, and he stabbed his teacher with a pencil. He said, well, you need to come get him. And she was like, just take him to jail. And I remember, how could you say that about your child? And, and this was a child of color, and I'm like, wait a minute. You want to put your kid in the system? You want me to take your kid and arrest him for the assault on the teacher and put his name in the system? And at the time I thought, that is absolutely absurd. What
is wrong with that parent?
No parent would arrest. I never, I never vocalized that to that particular parent, but I owe her an apology.
Internally, that was your
I owe her
narrative.
An apology because I had zero idea or concept of what her life was like of being a child with the disorders that he had, the disabilities that he had, and how tired she was. I replay that conversation in my head now, and I go, I hear her. I can hear her voice. I can hear how tired she is in her voice, how frustrated she is with the statement that she made. Yeah. And at that particular time in my life, I had no ability to have an understanding of where she was coming from. And to be honest, that made me not a good police officer in that moment, because I was not the best I could be for her, because she needed help. I had the resources. I just didn't have the ability to understand it, what she needed. And that's a shout out to all the parents out there who are dealing with these kiddos with invisible disabilities, that, you're tired, you're frustrated. And I need to acknowledge that. I didn't understand. I understand now.
How come you understand now?
I understand now because my eyes have been opened. I now know what that looks like. That it's not just a bad kid, or it's not just bad parenting, or they're just lazy, or they're shiftless and they're all that. No, that's someone with a disability, and you wouldn't look at someone who was blind and say, "Isn't it a tragedy that they're not trying to see? You guys need to do better. You need to try to look. You need to try to see what I'm saying." No one says that. We give so much grace and understanding, but with these.
To be fair, though, when someone can't see or they can't hear, it doesn't directly negatively impact the people in society around them. So I think the disconnect comes from the fact that kids with behavior disorders, they impact not just their family, like the behavior disorder doesn't just impact them, it impacts their family, and it impacts the community, it impacts society around them, it impacts their school, it impacts everything, because that disorder, those disorders, aren't just like in your own little bubble of you, right? So, I mean, if my child is blind, I, am affected in my home and such because I have to protect them and make sure that they, can get around my home. I have to make modifications in my home. We have to, maybe get them a seeing eye dog and get them some equipment. We maybe have to have an attendant for them when they go out in the world. There's safety concerns about their personal safety because they can't see what's going on around them, right? But they're not going to hurt other people. They're not going to invade other people's peace and ability to enjoy their space in life the way that they deserve to. And so the challenge with behavior disorders is, how are we empathetic to what's going on with them in their family, and also recognize that, nobody deserves to get hit. Nobody deserves to, have chaos come into the store. Nobody deserves, to be walking along with their child and then, somebody with a behavior disorder walks along and starts screaming obscenities at them.
Yeah.
Like, it's fair that people, it scares them, and rightfully so, because some of these kids, the disabilities aren't just verbal. They're not just, kept within like a certain realm of acceptability. They will hurt other people. They will hurt, they will damage property, things like that. So like you said, this kid's attacked his teacher with a pencil. When you tell me that story, because of my background, I hear a mom who is exhausted, right? When you told me that story a long time ago, it's exactly what I heard. I heard mom's tired. She's probably been attacked with way worse at home, or her other kids have been, other family members have been. This is not the first call she's had. This is, the 14th million in her mind. And he's probably 12, 13, 14 years old, getting bigger. And to be honest, her fear of him being in jail is less than her fear of what he will do to other people, and what her fear is of what may happen to him for doing those things to other people. And it's a really fucked up place to be as a parent, because to be that exhausted that you no longer fear your child going to jail, and especially as a parent of a kiddo of color, I can't imagine. Except I know, living in our world, how scary that is for us. And how with my kids that look like me, I don't have to worry as much about what that means for them as you have to worry about the kids who look like you.
Yes.
And so even that level, I do recognize, like, I know intellectually that, like, that is an even bigger statement for her to make than it is for me to make, But all that says to me is, that's how tired she is. That's how traumatized she is. That's how much she's been through with him. And I actually just had this conversation with my older son yesterday because, we were dealing with, we've got teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
We got a little mini teenager coming up right now, and it's summer, brings all his little teenager friends over, teenagers. And we're at the age where we want to try to sneak out. We want to, and really, what do we go do? We just go get food down at the gas station, or we just go get Whataburger. But we all know that can lead to more things. That being out after midnight, I used to say to my older kids, nothing good happens after midnight. Nothing good happens after midnight. There's zero reason to be out after midnight. And even when you get to that, 11, 12 o'clock hour, it's like, mm-mm. So, my older son, knowing that like nobody was leaving our house after 9 o'clock, was already floored that, we'll allow up to 11 right now, because it's a different area we live in now. It's safer. There's also a lot of community events that'll start up in the evening right around the corner from us that are family oriented, and they go until 10 or 11. And, so it's a whole different culture here. So part of it is culturally, like, and weather wise, it's feasible to be out between 9 and 11. In Seattle, you're out between 9 and 11. You're doing drugs, or you're going to be offered drugs, or you're going to be held up because, somebody thinks you have money or drugs. I mean, it's like literally legitimately your own safety for your person. Whereas here, it's more like, what are you doing and why do you have business being out? But also it's more old school, like for us, where we were out playing in the summer, well after the street lights came on. And that was the fun time of year to do, because it was still warm out. And
no, it was still warm.
It wasn't actually as hot as the desperate heat of the day. So
it was cooler down.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed you to go out, and that's when actually there was the most play. I grew up like that. And I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, and yeah, we were always out.
I mean, it's like during the day they can't really play that much because it's so hot.
The difference is we weren't out by ourselves.
And neither are they.
Well, exactly. But
they're going out together.
Yes, I don't mean it that way. I mean that because we were being raised by the village was out too.
Yeah, everybody was around and around.
We're not the village anymore, so that's the only difference.
Yeah.
But I have to, you have to shift. You have to shift from where I lived for the past 30 years as to where I live for the past 18 months.
Yeah.
That it's a different era, it's a different place, and so you have to shift. But I think, it does get, because these are the things that are you as a young parent, or even as an older parent, a parent of a child who is neurodivergent, just a parent, period, and you have the expectations of your ancestors and how you're supposed to raise your child, the expectations of the community that you live in and how you raise your child, the expectation that you have of yourself.
Right. Like, what was your thought? What were you going to do? Yeah. And then you're faced with it, and you're trying to implement the things that all these great ideas you had. And then it's not quite as easy as you assumed it would be. Right? Like my older children who haven't had children yet, they have all kinds of opinions about how I should be raising their brother. Yeah. And part of it comes from them not having children yet, because the one who has children, she has a lot more grace. Yeah. And she's only, her oldest is only 4, and she's still like, she's already been, she's already been brought to the edge, as much as you can, from 0 to 4, going, well, so how I thought it would be versus what it really is, very different. Yeah. So, it's a humbling experience when you have children yourself, and it's just not something that you can understand until you get hit in the face with that over and over again, because you are, really determined that you have the right keys, in your possession to make the things happen that you want to see happen for your kid. Mm-hmm. And so, when you are met with every single key doesn't unlock that door. It's humbling, right? Because then you're like, all those things I said to my parents. Oh my God.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I think you're right on point. I would also, because it just came to me, because we talk about those parents out there, and this is not gender specific, it's men and women. Mm-hmm. But let me just speak to the moms out there for a second. I had zero understanding of what being a mom of a young child, right? Mm. You got a baby that you just, first of all, leading up to the last 3 to 4 months of the birth, you're not sleeping. You're not getting a full night's rest. You can't find a way to be comfortable. You got 8,000 pillows on your bed and you're trying to sleep sitting up. Nobody can sleep sitting up comfortably. You do all that.
You're not comfortable in your own body.
Right.
And there's no relief. There's no pill you can take. There's no
there's nothing. You just got to deal with it.
You're sharing your body with another human and they get to do whatever they want.
Taking all the energy from you. Then you're blessed enough to go to the hospital and give birth to that child. They cut the umbilical cord. They say nice things to you, mom. The baby's crying. They clean the baby up.
You're euphoric because nothing matters.
You just had like the last 9+ months of dealing with this. You're super tired. You just had to go through an hour and a half, if not longer, of labor. I said, who did you
have babies with? It was an hour and a half.
I said, if not longer.
No, always.
If not long. No.
I need to know. That sounds so unfair because I'm like day and a half, maybe.
My daughter Stephanie, almost by the time the labor started to the ride to the hospital almost came. That's how fast she was ready to be born.
To be fair, she was having
again.
Labor,
I said plus. Can I keep? I said hour and a half plus. All right.
I'm feeling very angry for no reason right now, but I mean,
I said plus. I'm not saying like, that labor lasts.
Like you have been blessed to know,
Okay.
Anyway.
Plus
should have gone with
time.
Day and a half.
Well, you don't know what my thought is going to be, but you are very good at anticipation.
I pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition. Oh, okay. So amazing. I sound like oh my God. So you go through all that. You're exhausted. You give birth. They wash the baby off and they say, here.
Mm-hmm. And I remember leaving the first time and going, wait a minute. You just don't let me take this person?
No, because every movie.
I'm supposed to know everything to do. Oh my God.
Every movie I've ever seen, when the baby is born, everyone walks up to the glass, looks in the glass, and they see these rows of baby by themselves.
And the nurses, the experts, as far as you're concerned, the experts taking care of them, right?
Yes, the experts. People who know what they're doing.
Yeah. And while you're in the hospital, well, they're better at it now, at making you be more independent and leaving you alone. But depends. And they're still there, right? They're down the hall. So if you have a question, baby makes a weird sound, whatever, you can be like, hey, is this normal?
Yeah, but today they give you that child.
Yeah.
There's expectation because you're going to have to bond immediately. They want you to maybe even try to feed. I don't know. Yeah, depending on what your choices are. But they give you that child and you're taking care of that baby. You've just been through hours, this experience of through labor, hours of 9 months of this.
And you're high on endorphins. So you're not even in your right mind.
Not even in your right mind. And
you'd agree to anything.
The process of taking care of that human begins. Yeah. And
talk about exhaustion.
And it doesn't end. You go the first year. And this is if you just have one child. I'm not talking about if you have 3 or 4, because it's even worse. But just one of not being able to sleep through the night. Mm-hmm. Because even if the baby was asleep,
don't get to sleep
you can't
through the
feel
night.
it because your body is telling you, get up, check.
I was going to say, it's not just not sleep through the night. Like if you had to set an alarm to take medication every couple hours and not sleep through the night, that's drastically different than somebody else being in charge of waking you up whenever they feel like it.
Yeah.
and then your body waking you up, and there's just so many conflicting things that do not align with sleep, with having children,
right?
And this is just what you're talking about is just a typical experience, right? Like, this is just I said after I had my first one, oh, I remember being so sleep deprived towards the end of my pregnancy and thinking, I can't wait to have this baby so that I can, like, at least sleep the hours. I knew I expected that baby would be waking me up to eat. But I remember in my mind that sleep was going to be better because my body was going to be back to mine.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lie. That's not what happens.
No.
And after I got over being angry about all that, because it was like I had reached a level of sleep deprivation before I had the baby that I didn't know was possible. Then I had the baby, and there's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's more levels than this? This is unreal.
Yeah.
But I realized, like, it's by design, because I say now, I don't know how adoptive parents of a newborn infant do it, because I feel like as brutal as the process is, it prepares you for severe sleep deprivation, because it's going to be worse after the baby comes. And if you've adopted an infant,
you didn't get that.
You've gone from seriously 3, full nights of sleep, to and your body and everything, to learning this human and like getting up however on their schedule. And I just think that sounds so much harder to me, because I started like not being grumpy on the subsequent pregnancies, because I was like, oh, here we go, we're getting ready for the sleepless nights. And having that frame of mind, switching that up in that frame of mind like that, it made it a lot easier to accept it, because the first time I was just mad.
And that's exactly where I'm going. It's because your body, and thank you for saying that, because during the course of your pregnancy, you're preparing yourself. Your body is adjusting, letting you know what's getting ready to happen. Mm-hmm. But eventually,
you're supposed to get back to sleep.
You're supposed to get back to sleep, and your child grows older,
right?
And get up.
I remember when I got pregnant with Jack. Mm-hmm. And so Jack and Savvy are, let's see, we got 2007 and 2013, but they're like different times a year. So I think Bubba and Savvy are 7, sometimes 8 years apart, and Jack and Savvy are 6, sometimes 7 years apart. And I remember going like this, like desperate, like I was so happy that I was pregnant, because I was 42 and you're not even supposed to be able to get pregnant at that point. But I was also like, but I really like my sleep. Oh, here we go again. Why did I think that I wanted to start over on the no sleep thing? This sucks. And then telling myself, well, when he gets, I'll be back here again, like I am with Savvy. And, because I like with her, it maybe 3 years, 3-4 years. So I'd been sleeping for a couple years at that point. I've been sleeping well. And so I didn't think about how he'd be almost 13 and we would still be having sleepless nights.
Right.
Because I didn't know that that was the thing.
That was the thing. So, and then this is my shout out to those parents of the neurodivergent child, because for those who don't have a neurodivergent child, think about those sleepless first year and a half.
The desperation
that you feel.
Just want to get some sleep. I just need 4 hours.
The parent of the neurodivergent or the parent of
the
child
parents
the parents of the child.
It's not just one
with the disabilities. They don't ever get
any disabilities. All of them.
All of the disabilities. It's not just the neurodivergent. All disabilities. That this becomes a lifestyle. That as you're raising the child, that sleeplessness will continue.
It's like being in combat. Like even in military, when you guys go into combat, you guys get breaks. You guys get to like, I don't know, you're only in like a certain area for a certain period of time.
They will pull you out every couple of months.
Right.
To rotate people in
right.
and out.
And then you guys kind of get like a leave where you get to like recharge.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, be in a normal place and not be, you know, in combat.
An alert, that alert combat style.
Yeah, because during that time when you're in combat, you are in severe sleep deprivation and your body's on alert 24/7 and all that stuff, right? That is literally what happens to our bodies when we have children like this. But we don't get a pull out for break. No. We don't get, there's nothing. I tell my staff all the time, understand that you get to send the kid home every day. You get to go home. You get to sleep, you get to recharge, you get to go do your self-care, you get to take days off, you get to, we have school breaks, you know, where as a school we shut down and we don't have the kids here, that kind of thing, right? These parents never get that. Also, when they think they have it, they still can't ever just fully feel like they have it, because at any moment their child can attack someone with a pencil and we can get called to, you know, respond. And it is our responsibility to respond, or we get CPS called on us.
Right.
And now I'm not saying I have called CPS too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it has to happen, right? Kid needs somebody to come. And sometimes we have neglectful parents too.
Yes.
But that all being said, I've known the most outstanding, stellar, capable, not impacted parents who have children who are like this, who still are like,
no,
again.
I've watched and I've
send
seen
them to the
parents
hospital.
And in the beginning of this journey, and I watched parents through my law enforcement career and now to an extension of where we're at now with our school, I've seen parents be on the verge of giving up. And in the beginning, I had like zero understanding of how, because as a parent myself, I would never give up on my child. I didn't understand it. And it's, I didn't understand it because I had no idea of what it was like.
Exhaustion is.
What that level of exhaustion.
Because think about this. When we have babies, we are typically between 20 and 40. Typically, this situation is hitting us when our children are, it's starting to hit us at a level that, it feels unsustainable. When we are older, this is going to happen between our 40s and our 60s as we're raising them and we're getting older. So we're getting older and more naturally tired and more naturally, just our own physicality is getting less, and they're getting more energy, more independence, more all these things, but they have, whatever their disability is. And if they are behavior disorders, what that looks like for us is now we're, contemplating who takes night shift. I literally said to one of the parents of the kids that came over last night, because I said to her today, she had sent me a text last night at like 11 something, because basically all of our kids who hang out together probably all have some form of something.
Yeah.
And so we're all a bunch of parents who are all just kind of looking at each other like, sorry.
Who's up?
Yeah. Your turn. Tag, you're it. Thank you for getting a night. But really not. I don't have a night. So it's like 11 something at night. She's texting me, you good with all the boys spending the night over at your house? And I was not primary parent last night. Kev was. Kev is always primary parent at night. Jennifer is never. Because Jennifer has spent 35 years being primary parent at night. Anyway, she had texted me that last night. I didn't get back to her till this morning because we were dealing with the chaos crew. And so I said to her this morning, I go, yeah, sorry, just seeing this morning. Sorry, we were dealing with the chaos crew in here. Yeah, totally fine. Kevin was on night shift last night because we had a group of, here who was all trying to be leaving the house at 2 a.m. And she was like, that'll get a call to the police department for sure. And I said, funny you should say that, because they literally are trying to tell my retired police officer husband that the police and nobody's out at this time of night. So that's why it's exactly the best time to be out, so that they don't bother anybody and nobody messes with them. And my husband's like, that's exactly why they're going to call the cops on you and find you, because you're the only ones out there. And I'm saying, ironic that you're saying that, because how is it not logical to you guys? You just said nobody's out this time of night, and you should be able to be out this time of night. Those two things. Like, if you actually try to listen to your logic, it's not working for me. But in their mind, that made perfect sense.
No.
And, there's 3 of us here. There's 3 adults here right now in the house. And it took all 3 of us trying to manage the situation. I'm quietly walking around, changing batteries on cameras, and, walking into the boys', little powwow situation, because I'm not the bearer of bad news, person. So I'm just kind of like, hey guys, let me just put this camera up here. Nothing to worry about. Nothing going on. I at one point I tried to go out and disconnect the power to the gate, because I knew that the boys wouldn't realize what I was doing, and Jack was inside. And so I'm like, you know what? Let me see if I can quickly pull the panel off. And I don't know how to disconnect the power, but there's got to be a way. So that then they don't want to sneak out on foot.
Yeah.
They're too lazy for that. They want to sneak out with their bikes. So I thought if they can open the gate, they're SOL. Although they probably would have, those little shits would have probably gone through the side muddy yard and whatever. But anyway, it was an idea. And I'm over there. And then the next thing I know, Jack comes sauntering out. And I'm like, uh-oh, caught. So I'm putting the panel back on going, yeah, this fell off. I was just trying to put it back on. What? How come I feel like a little kid sometimes who I'm lying to my parents, to cover up what I was trying to do. Yeah. But I'm doing that. You and Tyler are, seriously contemplating taking all of them home at 1 a.m. And what the logistics of that actually looks like. Tyler's like, take them all home. I vote we take them all home. I'll help shuttle. And you're like, it's 1 a.m. and you're coming at it from their parent. I mean, on the one hand, yes, we're the ones paying the price right now. Mm-hmm. And yes, we want everyone to go away too. But also there's a piece of you that's considering that all these kids are like Jack and in different ways. Yeah. And that how much we are when Jack goes somewhere, we're like,
yeah,
don't worry, I'm not going to sue you, whatever they do, but please just, you be the one who's on tonight.
It's the understanding. And we finally having that understanding is about what, I used to be when I was a school resource officer, and it used to disturb me because I didn't understand, because no one knows the backstory. That mom in particular that I was talking about earlier, she had 3 jobs and she needed all 3.
Because a lot of these parents are single parents.
Yeah.
Let's clarify.
Yeah.
A lot of these parents are single parents. Having a kid like this is, people don't like to talk about it because it makes them feel guilty and bad. But I always say shit that people don't,
Mm-hmm.
nobody else will say. Having kids like this will break marriages and relationships faster than anything else, faster than financial difficulties, faster than anything. And it's not the kid's fault.
No.
But differences in understanding of the disability, differences in how you feel like it should be handled. I mean, think about just being regular parents with regular kids who, you will be challenged together to agree on parenting philosophies and how you want to discipline and how you want to do school and how you want just the typical challenges that parents of typical situations of parenting have to conquer to be effective parents together for their kids, right? And you're just talking about the regular stuff. These parents not only have to try to accomplish that, but now we've got all these complications, and it breaks them so fast because, like one parent sees that it should be handled this way and one parent sees it should be handled this way. They don't have time, ability, resources, all kinds of reasons, probably to even get to therapy, to even work through that piece. And there's not a lot of therapists out there also who are going to be, therapists are pretty trained most of the time. Mm-hmm. And in some, typical family dynamic breakdowns, and yes, they do dysfunctional families and all that, but this is a whole nother level of complication and dysfunction that having a disabled child, a behavior disordered child, any of those things, right? And how it specifically impacts your family, trying to find a therapist who might have experience with that. It's not like they even have occasion to have much experience with it. So those marriages break down. So you've got a lot of single parents going on. And they're working 2-3 jobs. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it does fall on one parent or the other, because whoever ends up taking that kid, a lot of times the other one just kind of checks out. Yeah. And they maybe don't mean to. Sometimes they do mean to. Sometimes they're just so angry and spiteful and whatever that they're just like, fine, you want to do this, you do it all by yourself, and I'll just pretend like I don't have a kid. Sometimes they do it because they feel like they don't know what to do, mm-hmm. and the other parent decided to take it on, and they just let the other parent call the shots and do it, and they try to just be, well, I'll just try to pretend like this isn't happening. Right. And so not only do they end up in a divorce type single parenting situation, but they end up in a situation where they also don't even have the other parent helping. Yeah. Even in a divorce situation,
but when you think about
visitations, what's that,
That leaves you with being you are literally and figuratively the primary parent.
The only parent.
And then the only breadwinner. Mm-hmm. And you've taken off out of a week, you've already had to come to school twice. Mm-hmm. You can't come a third time. Mm-hmm. You don't want to lose your job.
Yep. I used to say, my whole family would say nasty things to me about comments about, well, you can't keep a job, or you don't like to work. And my oldest, when he was very young in school and daycare, I was called all the time. And his bio dad and his stepdad, neither one of them were the people who were going to respond to those calls. It was always my job. That makes it really hard to keep a job. Yeah. I wasn't going to sit there and make him feel like it was his fault, so I would just never say anything. I'd just be like, yeah, that's it. I don't want to work. That's it. Mm-hmm. I can't keep a job. Yep, that's it. I'm not going to talk about why I can't keep a job. I can't keep a job because I keep getting in trouble at work because I have to take time off because my kid got suspended. Yeah. I have to keep leaving work. I keep getting calls at work just to, especially back then, and even now, it depends on where you work, but there's there's no tolerance for you getting personal call after personal call after
Yeah.
personal call. So even if you're not going to pick up your kid, if you're getting numerous calls, or, you know, I mean, like, I couldn't afford daycare once they were in school, and typically everybody else's kids were getting off the bus and, you know, going home until people got home from work.
Yeah.
But, you know, my kids, that meant I'm talking to them as soon as they got off the bus. You know, if we'd had FaceTime, they'd have sat on FaceTime on my fucking desk, you know, so that I could watch everything. If I'd had, you know, Ring cameras in the house, I'd have been like doing that. But then you think to yourself, well, am I really working right now? Or am I just babysitting my kids and pretending like I'm working right now? Because, and employers don't appreciate that, right? You're paying me however much an hour to work for you right now. And an occasional interruption from my family is one thing, but a daily situation where I'm, you know, my kids call me 14 times. I'm calling my kids. I can't get a, you know, I can't, oh, they're gone. I don't know where they are. You know, because they have behavior issues, and, you know, you also can't really put them in a lot of the programs that you could after school, because they might get kicked out of those programs.
Yep.
And, or some of those programs that they wouldn't get kicked out of have no supervision. There was a Boys and Girls Club program that would have been totally fine with my kids, but they also had a policy where the kids can leave whatever they want.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's no good, because my kids will be like, get off the bus at Boys and Girls Club, and now I'm going to go wreak havoc in the city, you know? So I'm going to show up to Boys and Girls Club, and you're going to tell me they left an hour after, you know, they met up with their friends here, and then they're gone, and I won't know where they're at. So that's not going to help. So I didn't have the options available, and you start finding jobs that can work around that, not necessarily like what you want to do with yourself. You know, you get no independence on yourself, on what you want to do. And I remember saying to my ex-husband, you know, because he would say stuff about, you know, I just wish you would just find something that you want to do and just stick with it. And I was like, you know, you don't know what it's like to just work at whatever job works for your family. You got to go, what do I want to do for a living? And then you got trained in it, and then you did it, and you still do it. And the reason that you get to continue to do it is because you don't have to respond to anything. You get up, get yourself ready, go to work all day. You don't get calls at work. You don't have to pick them up. You don't have to take them to doctor's appointments or the normal stuff. And then on top of it, you're not the one that gets the calls for all the other stuff. Yeah. You're not the one that manages them or whatever. And he's like, well, I'm the one that makes more money. And I'm like, right. That's why you don't have to deal with it. But it still also
exists. Doesn't stop existing.
That doesn't mean somebody doesn't have to deal with it. Yeah. And the reason that I do whatever job hopefully works around this is because I am the one who has to do it. So you can't even you can't even say anything to me, because you don't know what it's like to go to a job that you hate every day, but they don't care if you have to manage your kids, right? Like, the choices you have to make. And then you get to that place where, you know, the calls become beyond what you can manage. You have to, like, you're single mom, you're the breadwinner, or mom or dad, single mom or dad. You're the only one making the money to support the house. Your kid is running wild. You're, you know, you've long gotten over anybody's judgment of you, and you're pretty defensive and angry, and you're just like, bring it.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Because you're tired.
Yeah, you're exhausted.
You're exhausted.
And then
you've been living on the sleep deprivation probably for the last however many years.
And your body's in high alert and has never had the opportunity to vacate that feeling. So, you know, your cortisol is all messed up. And then they become teenagers, and it just gets more, because they not only have behavior disorders, but they're also in that age that's just more challenging for a typical kid. And then, you know, you start dealing with legal stuff and law and everything. And it was funny because last night, talking to my older son, he said, he goes, I feel like it's just a competition between you and Jack, who is really not afraid of him going to jail. And I go, oh, there's no competition. I legitimately am not. There's none. I have zero fear of it. And he goes, I don't think that's true. Because he remembers me raising him and his two brothers. And specifically, he was not the one during the teenage years so much that I was going through this with at first. It was his older brother. So he had a front row seat to watching, the terror of my first child and my freakouts and my fear and my everything, right? He wasn't the one causing the problem, so he got the front row seat and got to be, the popcorn kid, like, yeah, that was a bad idea, dude. So I was absolutely terrified, then, and that's what I told him. I said, sweetie, thanks to my older children, you included, I am no longer afraid of what y'all going to jail is going to look like. Because I know what it looks like now. And knowing what it looks like doesn't mean that I like that option. But I'm not afraid of it. And I said, and quite honestly, there comes a point, bud, where I guess I wouldn't have to worry about where he's at that night, and I could actually get a whole night's sleep. And he was like, damn.
No, that's
fair, but that's cold. And I go, I'll tell you what. I go, he don't know what he's looking at. I go, so yeah, he thinks, I don't care. He goes, yeah, I remember that. I remember it just being like, he goes, you think it's no big deal. You think that you don't care. He goes, until you get there.
Yeah.
I'm like, exactly.
And just to speak on even the story I was saying earlier about that one kid, I wind up actually arresting him. And he was actually booked into the youth service center, right, which is juvenile detention. And he went into there, and it is, and I hate to say it,
but it's not that scary.
No, but well, let me just say, because that's something we can speak to as well, because I think that's super important. But it didn't work how she thought it was going to.
It doesn't. Yeah, that too. I mean, it gave her the break.
It gave her a break for that night. It
gave
her the break for that night.
Yeah.
But the moment he went in front of a judge, the judge then
was mad at her. Yeah.
And then held her. And then, so then he took the limited amount of time that she had to herself. And he said, now you must mandate it. Go to therapy.
Yeah.
That you can't afford.
Yeah.
But it's mandatory because your son is now in the system and we're going to make you take care of him. Yeah. So it actually increased. She had less time.
Yeah. Yeah. It increases what your responsibilities are. I mean, I keep thinking about that mom in California who's being held responsible for her kid killing the person on the e-bike, whatever. Yeah. And, I get that, there had been multiple warnings and there had been all this stuff, but also, like, the reality is that, especially in, like, it's easier here for me than it was in Washington. So in a West Coast state, in a state that's very, very kid friendly and not parent friendly, they don't give you any opportunities, options. You have no ability, like legitimately no ability to actually get your kid under control. You can't, like, it sounds good. Well, just I'd take everything away from them and blah, blah, blah. These kids have no fear of going out there and living on the streets.
No.
And you know what? I didn't have any fear of my kid going out and living on the streets either when he started bringing weed and all kinds of shit into my house. I was like, get the fuck out. I have babies here. And then guess what happened? Police came and said, when he's trying to come back and he's complaining to them that I won't let them come back in, I won't let him come back in the house.
They go, yeah, you didn't leave.
And they go, you have to let your 14-year-old back in the house. Otherwise, it's child abandonment, and we're going to arrest you for child abandonment. And CPS is going to come and take not just him, but your other ones that I'm trying to protect, right? And you know, because you're an unfit parent. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. What am I supposed to do? He keeps bringing weed into my house and it's weed's legal. So he'd just say it's my parents, you know, it's not mine. And they wouldn't do anything about it. I literally had no recourse. He could wreak havoc in our home, in our family. And there was no resource given to me. They gave us wraparound services. That was, like you said, more appointments, more things that he did not want to participate in. And also in the state of Washington, if you're over 13 and you don't want to participate in any type of medical care, you have the right to refuse it. And then, you know, parents can't make you. Yeah, nobody can make you. So you give us wraparound services that on paper look really good and it sounds like a really great idea. But if you have a 14-year-old who is the center of, you know, what we're trying to work on, not saying that he's the problem, he is a symptom, but we need everybody to come to the table to work on the problem. And if you've got the biggest symptom not coming to the table, you're never going to make the progress that you need to. Yeah. So we're all putting in all this time, and meanwhile he's off getting high and then bringing his shit home and, you know, just wreaking havoc. And we're thinking, what are we supposed to do? Like we had no idea, and there's no answer. Like we asked, we researched, we looked into, we tried, you know, drug addiction and stuff like that. You can't even force your kid into rehab because they can walk out. Yeah. You cannot force them. I mean, so you'd have to like trick them into the car to go on a trip to another state and then trick them into getting to the detox center in that other state, right? Good luck. These kids are way too smart for that. They know the laws and what they can get away with so much better than you do. Yeah. When they go to juvenile detention, it is, like you said, there's a whole lot of things going on there, but it's not scary, first of all. And they meet kids who do worse things. Yeah. And they exchange information. And then they make friends there because there's more friends just like them. And now when they get out, they start going and doing more things. Well, at least here in Texas, it's like, and Hawaii was the same way. In both Hawaii and Texas, when we're in these two places, I know I can call the police and be like, he's not, like, I can't, blah, blah, blah. And they will come in and give it to him straight. They'll actually tell him stuff that he does not think was actually possible. You know, like, your parents can tell me to take all of your stuff and I will take it. There is no way that they would say that in Washington. In Washington, they'd show up and they'd be like, so what's going on? Yeah, my kid is trying to leave. He's been, you know, this, he's doing that, he's doing this, he's doing that. Okay, they go talk to the kid. Then they'll come back and they'll be like, well, there's really nothing we can do. And you're like, so that's it? Yeah. Sorry. I wish we could, but we can't.
And they leave you. And now the animosity.
Oh, yeah.
That has just been triggered time.
And also
because they're now arrogant about it.
I was going to say, the animosity, they're angry and they're empowered. Yeah. Because you called the police and they came and they didn't do shit, did they? So who really has the power, Mom?
Yeah.
Now and you're like,
now what are you going to do? I'm continue doing what I was doing.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to notch it up because you had the audacity to call the police on me. Mm-hmm. And you're like, great, here we go. Right. So, you know, that level of exhaustion. I mean, it is like being in combat. You're like, you know, I mean, I literally said to that mom this morning, I was like, sorry, but Kev had the night shift trying to keep these guys from leaving. We were successful. But I went to sleep because I knew he was staying up. And I know, because I've done this long enough now, that if somebody else is taking the night shift, if somebody else is taking that shift, I better get my ass to sleep, because they're going to get so tired. Yeah. And if help is still needed, we're going to have to swap. Yeah. And so I better get a couple hours in before they have to tap out. And then I can go, all right, I got it. You go to bed now.
Yeah. And that's only if you have a partner who's on the same page with you.
Yeah.
So, again, to those parents out there who are dealing with this, recognizing, and you may not even recognize that you're sleep deprived, but I just want to say, I see you now. Mm-hmm. I have a better understanding of why you say some of the things that you say and do some of the things that you do. It's not easy being a parent of a neurodivergent child, but it's important work, because whether society or family wants to believe it or not, that child is the future as well. And if we don't give them the resources, and we don't give them the different paths that they can choose now, then there won't be any paths for them in the future. And
well, there will be. It'll be straight to jail.
Yeah, I'm saying the path will be not
homelessness or jail.
Homelessness or jail.
Yeah.
We have to get it now.
And I get it, because we are running on fumes these days, you and me. But I think, bringing awareness to the fact that it's not just families whose kids are or people are medically or profoundly disabled who are experiencing this exhaustion. People, have a understanding that, profoundly disabled children are requiring around the clock care. And even that's hard to obtain.
Yes.
It's hard to find a caregiver that sticks around for a minute, right? Yeah. They don't get paid much, and, there's a lot of challenges to it. But there's zero recognition nobody's talking about it. And we just really need to bring awareness to the fact that when you're dealing with kiddos who aren't profoundly disabled, but they have, significant disabilities that are impacting their day-to-day life, or mental health challenges that are impacting their day-to-day life, there are no caregivers for them. I have tried for years, you've been along the journey, to find a nanny for Jack, which really just translates to, I need a caregiver who could be a third parent to take a shift for us. There's nobody who fits that job description. We've tried all kinds of different options, and there's nobody who fits that job description, and we will have to pay through the nose for it. There's no assistance program for it. There's no field for it, that people can learn how to be a caregiver for autistic and ADHD kids, or ADHD kids, families who have kids with mental health / behavior disorders. There's no field that people go into to train to be that caregiver. It's too, nobody talks about it. We just think that like we're all going to bed at night and getting up the next morning, and it's only during the day that we're all having these challenges. And it's not. It's round the clock, and we're in crisis. Some of us lock ourselves in our room for safety, locking our other kids. The other kids are locking themselves in their room for safety at night.
No, we had friends.
Their sleep is disrupted.
Kids. Yeah, they were so afraid of their child just because
whatever they would do in the middle of the night
would go out. They would have to lock the child in the room.
They would lock or people are so afraid of what the kid will do, because see their circadian rhythm is fucked up too. So just like a lot of profoundly disabled kids, theirs are too. But the thing is, they're more capable of going like out and or doing stuff in your house. And so they some people will lock themselves, and their other children will lock themselves in their own rooms We did that for a while where everybody had a fingerprint lock on their door so that Jack couldn't go into their rooms.
Yeah.
Because he would go in and just kind of terrorize them. I mean, not in a bad way at that point, but he was disrupting everybody's peace. And, you know, like, that's not fair to other people. You know, most kids you can say, hey, don't go in your sister's room, you know, without her permission. And she screams at him once or twice and then they don't do it again. Right. But that's a boundary he'll cross every time, all the time. We've had it happen it always happens. You know, we have a lock on our door that we lock, not just for, you know, shits and grins. We lock it sometimes just because we're like, you know what, I just like to change my clothes and not worry about you busting in on me. And you're like, nobody should worry about their 13-year-old still walking through the door, but we do.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't register or process information the same as we do. So it's not like he's intentionally trying to do anything. It's just, that's just his brain gets the way a certain way and going. So
well, you've got impulse control and you've got defiance going on, you know? So, no, I'm not going to knock on the door.
So I see you parents out there. I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that, one, the apology for all those ones who I thought were being bad parents and then didn't have an understanding of why things were happening the way they did. But two, to acknowledge the fact that it is difficult doing that and that you're doing something that is commendable, because these young people, again, whether you want to believe it or not, they're our future. So if we don't get on the ball and make sure that they have all the things they need to be successful, we will be taking care of them way past what we thought we were going to be doing.
Yeah, and communities who keep telling parents to do better, you'll be taking care of them.
Yeah.
When they're homeless or in jail. So rather than throw judgment at these parents, you might want to start considering, you know, community options for supporting these parents while they are raising these kids.
Yes.
Because it will be your responsibility as a community, because the parents will die. Yeah. I mean, not to be brutal about it, but we die, and then these kids, if they were not given what they needed, you know, and we weren't able to find effective solutions before we die, they're homeless or in jail. Yeah,
no, there are people who self-medicate with street pharmaceuticals for a reason. Mm-hmm. And when we start getting into the reason why, it all stems back to the point where we're at now. Yeah. So we need to get back to the village raising the child. And if we can do that, then we can continue. Otherwise, it's a very dark future. But thank you guys for really listening for us today. Please like, comment, and share. And if you want to reach out to us, contact us in section. Thank you.